Hey, we're back. Welcome to the show. My name is Letitia Griffin, and I'm here another week for Family Credit Management, and we're here to talk about debt. We're here to talk about finances, any types of issues that you may be having, any questions, concerns about your finances. Call in because we're here to help. So if you don't get a chance to call in, of course, you can always reach out to a certified credit counselor, and they are available at 800-994-3328. So again, Family Credit, 800-994-3328. Or you can reach out while we're here for the next few minutes and give us a call, 312-738-1060. Again, the number is 800-994-3328 if you're looking to contact a counselor, or go online to the website at familycredit.org. That website is really an awesome resource for you to have. So if you got questions over the next week or so and you can't seem to find the answer, everyone has questions about debt. That's the great place to reach out and get the information you need, familycredit.org. You can chat online with a certified counselor and they're there to help. That's the best part. You can always reach a counselor, get your questions answered, and probably get some information that you never even knew existed. So use them as a resource. So, of course, past the tax deadline, which came out April 15th, was the deadline to have your tax form submitted. If you have questions, again, I always want to recommend the Taxpayer Advocate's Office. And you can reach the Taxpayer Advocate at 877-777-4778. The reason why I stress contacting them is because so many people have problems and they don't know where to go, especially, to get help with the IRS. We all know that we have to pay our taxes. We're expected to file, but what happens when things don't go the way that we planned, or if we don't have all the tax forms? If we have questions, that's the perfect place to get those answers. Remember, Taxpayer Advocate, 877-777-4778. Now, while we get into what we're actually here to talk about today, the main topic, I want to actually go over credit myths. And we talk a lot about credit. We talk about the different bureaus, how to get your report and how to dispute it. But let's talk about some myths today. And that is really where we're going to start. And I've seen so many people that come to me that ask questions about their finances, about credit, about debt. And we've all been given misleading information or incorrect information when it comes to the credit bureau and your credit report and your credit score. So that's what we're here to talk about today. So feel free to give us a call, 312-738-1060, if you've got any questions at all regarding your debt and your credit report. Now, where do you go to find your credit report? Best place to go is annualcreditreport.com. We'll talk about that for a second too, because a lot of times you see these different advertisements for get your free credit report now, get your free score, and you have to sign up, you have to pay money. And so that's why I want you to know that annualcreditreport.com is the best place you can go to get your credit score. So if you're looking for your credit score or your report, annualcreditreport.com. Another, if you feel like you want to try something else, you're not sure if that will work for you, and sometimes people are leery of those links that are being shared. So you can also go directly to the credit bureaus themselves to get the scores and the reports that you're looking for. Now, keep in mind, we've got three main bureaus that we use. They are Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. Each bureau has their own customer service number that you can call in and get questions answered, and they've got their own report and their own score that they utilize. So feel free to, if you're having problems with that, again, you can reach out to a counselor, 800-994-3328, and they can even help you with that, help you pull the bureau, and they can help you go over that report. So again, great resource of Family Credit. Now, when we get into the credit score and the credit bureaus, of course, the first thing that you think about is, whether the information on it is accurate. And you want to actually know that it is. The only way to do that is to actually review the report yourself. Another myth that I've come across just recently, this week, I was helping someone with their credit report. And the first thing they wanted, or that they brought up, was they have collection accounts. And their question was, they felt you can dispute everything that's a collection that's on your credit report, and that way it would be removed. Now, think about this. If you're disputing something, it does not mean that that item doesn't exist, and it does not mean that it's coming off of your credit report right away. So disputes are there for a reason. They're there to get information that is wrong off of your credit report. So the only thing that a dispute will do, again, is remove erroneous information and derogatory information that is not true. So if you've got a collection account out there and you know it's your debt, you may or may not, you haven't paid it, you know it's yours, and you think that you can dispute it to remove it, that's a big myth. Not going to happen. Now, while things are in dispute, they're not factored into your credit score. But what happens at the end of the dispute, the credit bureau has to make a decision, because what they do is they're investigating your information. They want to know or prove to you that this information is accurate or it's false. So when they come to that decision and they say, yes, it's actually accurate, that means that information will stay on your report. The dispute's over. Whether you agree or not, the dispute is over. That account comes out of dispute, and guess what? It's back into your credit score. Which, if it's a collection account, again, is going to affect your score negatively. We'll talk about that a little bit into the show as well. But keep that in mind. Disputes are there for a reason, to get wrong information off. So if you're trying to dispute information that is yours, that's accurate, it's not going to work. And in the end, it will end up making things worse as well. So that's our first myth. The next thing that I'm coming across is a lot of people think that you only have one credit score. Big myth. Is there only one credit score? Well, there are 3 different bureaus that we use. Now, keep in mind there's other types of bureaus out there, but as far as credit goes, 3 bureaus that we've just talked about: Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. So each bureau has their own score. Now, we know the bureaus, they all report different information. So we've got Equifax that will report a collection account. It may not show up on TransUnion. It may show up on Experian, but they're reporting a different amount. And that's because each bureau has access to this information from the creditors directly. And not all creditors report to all credit bureaus. That means that you will have 3 different scores with possibly 3 different sets of information. So, no, you don't have just one credit score. There is 3. Your credit score, of course, ranges anywhere from 350 to 850 when you're looking at the FICO scoring model. So 3 different scores, 3 different numbers that we need to pay attention to and make sure that the information on the bureaus is accurate. The only way to do that is to look at your report. And I recommend doing that as often as you would like, as much as you can, whatever you feel safe with doing. So if you're able to look at your credit report once a year, that's great. If you can do it more, that actually helps as well, because now you know what's on your report. You know if there's any challenges up ahead. And keep in mind, we are looking at keeping our credit good, establishing good credit so that we can get more credit or more financing for other things, right? The last thing that you want to do is go into a bank and actually be turned down because you didn't take the time to look at your credit and know what was on it. And a lot of times what I'm finding is that people think that they have horrible credit and they haven't even checked it. There have been some changes over the past few years that have actually improved scores and kept things, improving for us as a whole. So if you take a look at your credit report, it's always great to take a look and see what you're getting yourselves into, maybe like 3 to 6 months before you even plan on getting financing. And I recommend that because if there's something wrong, if you look at it 3 to 6 months before you go into that office, that gives you time to actually fix things, to take into account anything that might be wrong on there, have it updated. If there's old information that needs to be removed, you'll know about it just because you've looked. So that's why I always recommend, if you are thinking about getting financing, you do want to look at your report ahead of time. Again, you don't want to get there and get turned down. No one wants to be turned down when they're standing there looking for financing. So go ahead, look at your report and look at your score. Continue to monitor it so that you know your credit strength and your credit profile. So Again, if you're having problems with your credit report and you want to get a copy of your report, or you have questions on what's on it, you don't understand it, you can contact the counselor and go over your report directly. Another credit myth that I've come across this week: if you dispute an item on your credit report multiple times, it'll eventually fall off. That is a big credit myth. Not necessarily true at all. Now, again, if you dispute information on your credit report while the item is in dispute, it is not factored into your score because it's in dispute. So the credit bureau has a way of taking it out of your score, masking it a little bit, and then you still get a score based on the information that's there. Again, once that information is out of dispute, goes right back in. So if you're disputing multiple times, let's say you have an item, it's in dispute, then the dispute comes off, your score lowers. So you dispute it again, and you keep disputing it like that. That does it does affect your score. But guess what? That bad information that is yours is not going away. Now, there is a statute of limitations on each item that's on your credit report, though, and all derogatory information has a certain timeline of existence on your credit report, and that timeline is anywhere between 7 and 10 years. If it's a collection account, we're most likely looking at 7 years from the date of last activity that account will stay on your credit report. So if you're disputing something that's old, chances are it might be taken off. If you're disputing something multiple times that can't be proven that it's yours, of course, anything that they cannot prove that is your debt, they cannot verify, it's not validated, then yes, that information will be removed. But you can't necessarily dispute accurate information on your credit report. So keep that in mind. No matter how many times you dispute, if the information is right on your credit report, it's going to stay there. But also think about this though, and one thing I want to caution you on is that if you've got something on your report that you're disputing and that dispute is over, that dispute will still affect you because now it becomes a black mark on your credit report. And so once the dispute is over, the only way for you to truly clean it up is to make sure you contact the bureaus again and ask them to remove the dispute item on your credit report, because guess what? You're done with the dispute. The dispute's been resolved. It was found to be accurate or inaccurate, but make sure that that word dispute is removed from your credit report because it does leave a black mark no matter what the outcome of the dispute or inquiry is. So also keep that in mind. Another dispute that I've come across last week actually is that big myth: you should close all of your accounts once you pay them in full. And that, my friend, is a huge credit myth that you want to stay away from. Anytime you pay off an account, actually, no matter what, never close an account if you do not have to. Anytime you close an account, you want to keep in mind that's going to affect your credit score, because when you're closing out an account, what it does is it stops that information from being reported on your credit report. So you also want to take a look at how the information is being reported on your credit report too. So if you got an account that that ran past due, and let's say the account was 3 months past due, and then you just paid that account in full. Now the account has a zero balance. Guess what? Even though the account has a zero balance, that 3 months past due is going to show. It's still there. So what you want to think about doing is paying the account to a current status first. Then maybe on your next due date, when the next payment is due, then you can look at paying it off. Also, you want to keep the account open as long as possible, whether, especially if you've got a good payment history, you've got a great relationship with that creditor, you do want to leave that account open as long as possible, because that's going to strengthen your report. It shows you that you have history. And remember, a huge part of your credit score is based on your payment history. So if you've got positive payment history there, you've never been late on the account, you pay on time when you had a balance on it, you want to keep that information reporting. So always leave that account open. Now, that doesn't mean you have to use it. but you do want to keep that account open. And sometimes the credit bureaus will also, they're beginning to alert when an account is, something's going to happen, the creditor is thinking about closing it. And you also want to pay attention on your own too, because if there's no activity on an account for maybe 6 months to a year, the creditor may consider closing out that account for you. And in that case, you want to make sure that you are always updating your creditor, maybe making a small purchase and paying that off. You want to keep that line open. Do what you have to do to leave that line open, because it will have some history that's going to strengthen your score. And that's what you need. That's the purpose of you even having the account, right? So keep that in mind too. Again, if you got some questions about your credit report, contact the counselor at 800-994-3328. Again, you can also call in to us for the next few minutes with any questions that you may have. Okay, now this credit myth that I've come across recently from a few different people, I did want to talk about, because it's just a very important topic. And what I've heard from a few people is that, well, they don't have to worry about paying their debts or their bills because they're going to file bankruptcy, and bankruptcy wipes the slate clean. And actually, that does not happen like that. Now, there's a couple of different types of bankruptcy. There's two major types of bankruptcy that we as consumers utilize. There is a Chapter 7 and a Chapter 13. And in no ways am I an attorney or giving you legal advice, but I just want you to know that bankruptcy does not wipe the slate clean. If you're filing a Chapter 7, what that is simply saying is that I can't pay anything on my debt. I need to get rid of it in order for me to survive. And the courts understand that, and they do an automatic stay to your creditors, which means that the creditors cannot come after you because you filed. With the Chapter 13, what's happening is you will set up a repayment plan based on your income and what you have left out of the course of your month. And the attorney helps you figure out all of that amount. So that's not something you need to worry about if you're looking at, or if you're thinking about bankruptcy. But it doesn't wipe your slate clean, because yes, you're not paying those debts, or you might have a reduced payment for those debts, but guess what? That black mark will be on your credit report, and it will stay there for up to 10 years, which is why you want to look at alternatives before you file as well, because think about it. That's going to affect you for a while. And when you file, sometimes it's there for a reason. It's there when you cannot make it. You don't have another choice, but you can rebuild from it. Also, with that, you just want to look at all of your options before you even go down that route, because if there are other things you can do to help clear up your debt or to help take care of your debt, then by all means do so. Reach out to a counselor. You can get some great advice or different options for you. And if you have problems dealing with your creditors, they can actually help you and tell you more about how to deal with them, what you can do, and how you can get things under control. So keep that in mind. Another credit myth that I wanted to talk to you about, that I'm going to throw out there, is that someone told me that if you pay off an account or pay debts, they don't affect your credit report or your credit score. Here again, another myth, because if you pay an account, it does have an effect on your credit score. And the reason why, the things you want to look at, is if you're paying an account, and you want to make sure that you keep that payment history. If you've got positive payment history on that account, then yes, that strengthens your account. Again, you want to leave it open. Also, if you've got any late payments on that account in the past, that's still going to affect you, because now your score is lower. So think about it. If you've had any late payments on that account, you do want to make sure you've paid it, but keep a positive payment history from then on out. Don't close it, because now that you've got that negative there, what you want to do is get enough positive information to counteract that. So if you're late 6 months ago and you've made all your payments since then, of course, now you're starting to reestablish a positive payment pattern. And that's what you need to keep your score and to keep increasing your score. But just because you paid it doesn't mean that it's not affecting your score. So also, one of the things that I also wanted to talk to you about is that someone said to me that debt is bad. And debt's out there for a reason. We all use it to see what we can get, what we qualify for. Sometimes we use it for just getting ahead in life. is there for a reason, but not all debt is bad. So you want to think about that too. Now, the things that are bad about debt though, is if you take on more than you can afford. That's when debt becomes a problem. But debt by itself is not. So you want to keep that in mind. Can you afford your monthly payment? Are you having problems dealing with your creditors? How's that affecting your financial budget? Think about those things. Also, you don't want to take out more than you can afford either. So those are some things that you need to think about, because not all debt is bad. It's when we get out of control or we lose our way or can't make it. That's when it becomes bad. When it becomes too burdensome, too much for us, that's when debt becomes bad. And then you want to look at options on how do you relieve that stress. What can you do to get back on track with your creditors? Do they offer any help out there? If you're having problems with medical bills, are there any programs out there that will help with that as well? Last myth we're going to talk about, and we'll probably leave the show with this one, is that you can buy a good credit score. I've been hearing so many people talk about buying or paying for credit repair or credit help like that. You cannot buy a credit score. The only thing that will help you with your credit score is if you use your discipline and time to heal or to make your credit situation better. Keep in mind, there's so many different scams out there also that try to prey on you and use some of these different myths, the things that we've talked about that they've even put out there. They use some of these ways to try and get you to just use their services when they don't do anything but damage you in the end. So you can't pay for a good credit score. If you're looking at credit repair, stay away from it. You can work yourself diligently to make your credit situation better. Now, when you're looking at credit repair, also keep in mind that you're not even, the only thing that they do in those instances is dispute everything on your credit report. And again, we just talked about disputes, how that leaves a black mark on your credit report. And sometimes you will see those things start to fall off, but guess what? It's always coming back. And I've seen so many people that fall victim to it, where they think that, their credit is getting better. I had a situation with someone that I was helping, and they stated that they did go through and talk to a credit repair, and the first month was great because they were getting letters and everything, and then the second month they were still getting letters, but not so much. The third month, dead silence, nothing happened. They stopped getting letters from the credit bureaus, they stopped getting letters from the dispute company, and what happened was they noticed their score began to plummet. And that's because, again, remember, anytime you dispute anything on your credit report, it's not factored into your score. So when that information is masked, you can't see a positive score. It's not your real score. But guess what? Like I said, that information is coming back with the vengeance, and it's going to pop back up on your credit report once the creditors finish their disputes. Because remember, with these companies, they dispute everything on your credit report. Even the positive items, even those items that are great, that are outstanding, that you've had that history, that you've worked hard to have that history on. And once those disputes are over, it messes up your score, because now your score falls and you're no better off. And a lot of times you're a lot worse than when you started. So the correct thing for you to do is look at your credit report yourself. Get help out there. Contact a counselor, Family Credit, 800-994-3328, and ask questions. Ask the right questions about your situation. And if you need help with your credit report, they're there for a reason. Again, the bureaus that you use, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. And go to annualcreditreport.com to get that credit report if you're looking at trying to get your credit report for yourself. Now remember, when you go to annualcreditreport.com, it will give you access to all three of those bureaus. So you can get one report from each bureau for free. You will need to create an account, and remember, whatever your password is, because you're going to go back there again and pull it again. So keep all that information handy. Reach back out if you need some help, because we're here to help. We've got all this information, the resources available to help you keep your credit in good standing. And then next week we'll talk some more about disputes. We'll talk a little bit more about finances and any other issues that we come across. Again, if you need help, reach out to a counselor, 800-994-3328, or chat online at familycredit.org. Don't forget, use that as a resource. And then we will be back. We'll see you again next week, okay? Same time. Talk to you later.